Welcome to That's Life. I'm your host, Leah Leach. Thank you so much for tuning in to our Saturday segment of season 6. I am so excited to be back with you guys yet again. I hope you are doing well. When you come in, you can definitely say hello to me because it's been a long time since we've done a Saturday show. I'm so glad to see you guys. Please make sure that you like, follow, and subscribe to all of our social media. You can follow us on IG, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and you can also go to our website at that'slife.leahleach.com. So before we kick off into our show, as you know, we always start with advertisements. Our sponsor for this evening is Xeon Starfighters. Are you looking for a new story to read? Something that takes you out of the mundane day to day, something inspiring and that combats boredom, something that will have you on the edge of your seat with every page you turn. Then check out Xeon Starfighters. It's a new book series where ordinary youngsters dive full on into an extraordinary circumstance against a powerful adversary trying to ruin their world. It's either they survive and go on to fight again, or they will die and aren't worth mentioning. Come join the action and the adventure and see if these youngsters have what it takes to become legends. Storybooks 1 and 2 are now available. All of their information is below on our ticker. So if you're interested in purchasing this book, it is a great read. I do have both the series actually right next door to me. Please make sure that you support this book. This is an amazing book, and all the information to get it is right below on our ticker. So as you know, we always deal with COVID because that is the reason why we started That's Life was because of COVID-19 and how it impacted our community. As of 7:30 this evening on Johns Hopkins, confirmed is over 220 million. Over 220 million people have been confirmed with coronavirus. Deaths is over 4.5 million that have died from coronavirus. Please, I'm stressing to every single one of you, if you have not, go and get the vaccine. I know a lot of people are skeptical about the vaccine, and there has been questions about it being FDA approved. But now that we have the clearance from the FDA, I implore everyone to go and get vaccinated if you haven't already. I have been fully vaccinated. I'm actually getting my booster this week. So I implore every single one of you, especially if you have pre-existing conditions and you have issues with health, please go and get vaccinated and take care of yourself. So on today's show, we're going to be talking about self-care, specifically about why I took my sabbatical, because I know a lot of people asked, why did I take a sabbatical and why did I take it so long? And so we're going to talk a little bit about why I decided to take a sabbatical, why it was necessary for me to be able to do this. And we're going to give you tips and tools on how to do self-care, because it is so important now, especially now that we're giving self-care to ourselves. COVID is real, people. We're dealing with COVID. We're dealing with variances. We're dealing with people going back to work and school. We have the anxieties of what that looks like. It is important that we are giving ourselves self-care. So please make sure that you stay tuned for this show. This show is here to encourage you, empower you, and to give you tips and tools on how to live a best fruitful life, but to also take care of yourself. Please make sure you share this video as well too, because we want to make sure that we're giving this information to those who need it the most. Okay. So when we come back, we're going to kick straight off into the show. We'll be right back. Welcome back to That's Life. I'm your host, Leah Leach. Thank you so much for tuning into our segment today. Self-care is the best care. As you see, I am solo dolo by myself today, but we're going to be talking about ways to give yourself self-care, especially now during this COVID period. If you're looking at my face, please make sure that you share this live video. We want to make sure that we're giving tips and tools to those who need it, especially now with COVID and all the anxiety that's encircled around that. COVID is real, people. We're dealing with still a lot of spikes in a lot of places. We're dealing with even weather issues and all types of things. So we want to make sure that we're giving people the right tips and tools on how to give themselves the best self-care, okay? So as you know, we always come with statistics. That's one of the things that we do here at That's Life when we talk about our community shows. So according to everydayhealth.com, self-care is defined as the ability of individuals, families, and communities to promote health, prevent disease, maintain health, and to cope with illness and disability with or without the support of a healthcare provider. It includes everything related to staying physically healthy, including hygiene and nutrition, and seeking medical care when needed. Its benefits are better physical, mental, and emotional health and well being. Research suggests that self care promotes positive health outcomes such as fostering resilience, living longer, and becoming better equipped to manage stress. And that last one is so critical when it comes to self care, because most people do not know how to manage their stress level. And so, obviously, that is part of why we're going to be talking about this today, especially now during our COVID period. Okay. So, I want to talk about why I decided to take a sabbatical. And as most of you all know, when we do That's Life, we do That's Life in seasons. And typically we do 6 to 8 episodes, depending upon what the season offers. And we kind of go about what we do. I took an extended period of time off because my mental health was at risk to be at a place where it could potentially not only harm me, but harm those that are around me. One of the things that I realize about myself is that I'm a yes girl. I admit that. Leah is a yes girl. I say yes to everyone, no matter how exhausted I feel, no matter what I have on my plate. I could have multiple things on my plate. No matter what's going on, I'm saying yes. But what that was doing to me was it was wearing me down. And it wasn't just wearing me down, it was making me grumpy. It was making me irritable. It was making me become a person that I didn't like looking at. And so I decided to take some extended time for myself because I needed to take that time to be able to self evaluate. Ironically, in the midst of all of that, I was diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer. And so I say this jokingly, but I also say this in seriousness that sometimes God will give you a wake up call. And my wake up call was you need to sit down. You need to stop saying yes. You need to stop being everybody's superhero. You need to stop being Superwoman or Wonder Woman, because I love Wonder Woman. So that's the one that I'll go with the most. You need to stop being everybody's superhero and you need to go sit and chill. And especially for women, we have a hard time. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in the next segment because women have the hardest time when it comes to self-care because we're moms and we're wives or we're girlfriends or we're managers or we're whatever the job title is. But a lot of times what that looks like is that we're burnt out and our husbands or our spouses are looking at us and they're wondering, what's wrong with her? She's just grumpy to be grumpy. But really what that looks like is burnt out. And so I think it's so critical that we take care of our mental space. Sometimes the answer has to be no. Sometimes you have to say no to your next door neighbor who's asking you to go do something for them, or you have to say no to your aunt, or you have to say no to your mother, or you even have to say no to your children, because that's what you have to do to protect your mental space. In my case, not only was it mentally exhausting, but it was physically exhausting. It was to the point where my body literally could not wake up in the morning. My schedule for work was 5:30 a.m. to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I was getting up at 4:30 to be at work by 5:30 and still trying to do things and exhausting myself and not getting to bed at 10 o'clock at night. That's not healthy, people. You still have to give your body the necessary rest that it needs, the necessary sleep that it needs. Because if you don't do that, again, you will put yourself at risk for so many health problems, whether that's high blood pressure, diabetes, whatever that looks like. You have to make sure that you're taking care of your physical health. Another part of that was that I was emotionally eating. Why? Because I was up. I was up at 10 o'clock at night. I would wake up my spouse at 10 o'clock at night and say, I want a bag of chips. Why did I need a bag of chips? Because I was up in my thoughts. And so a lot of times what you're going to have to do is shut yourself down. And that means you having to discipline yourself and focus and say, I have to shut down my health. And I have to shut it down so that I don't protect my health. The other part, which is nutrition. People do not realize how critical nutrition is. Nutrition is everything. It's everything to not just your health in general, but for your physical wellness. I'm going to show you something, and I know I'm going to get in trouble, but I'm going to try not to show the sponsor. This is my very best friend, water. Water makes up 80% of your body. You need to be drinking water. Specifically, if you're going to drink water, alkaline water. Alkaline water, it balances your pH, and it's very important when it comes to your body as you get older that your pH balance stays in order. Soda is your enemy. As much as we love it, it is your enemy. Drink more water. Do the things that you know that you're physically supposed to do. I'm not here to tell you to sell you one diet or the other. If you want to do the South Beach or the keto or whatever you want to do that. I know for me, my spouse and I went vegetarian almost a month ago. It was the best decision that I made for my life because what I realized is that all the fried food, all the bad stuff that I was eating also contributed to how I felt in the evening or how I felt in general. Health is wellness. Self-care is the best care. You want to make sure that whatever you're putting in your body or in your mind or in your heart or in your spirit is good energy and good and wholesome for you. And I know that that goes without saying, but sometimes you have to hear the reinforcements to know that you're doing something right. It's so critical that we are taking care of ourselves, especially now with the Delta variant and the Mu variant being out there in the atmosphere, people. You have to take care of yourself. This is the one time, this is the crucial time to take care of yourself, especially now, okay? So we're going to talk a little bit about women in our next segment, because I think that with women, like I said before, we have a tendency of putting ourselves last. We always do, women. I'm talking to us, and we know who we are. I don't have to call you out because you know who you are. Women always put ourselves second and even third behind children and behind our spouses or behind the ones that we love. We have to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves, especially us, because we die of heart disease faster than any group of people. We die of breast cancer. We die of cancer. We die of major medical issues because we don't take care of ourselves the way that we should. So it's so crucial and so critical that we are taking care of ourselves. So we're going to talk about the next segment, some things that happened over the summer that impacted women as a whole and that impacted specifically African-American women. This also can go for any other culture, but we're going to talk about African-American women because there was really a stigma on mental health this summer when it came down to African-American women. So we're going to talk a little bit about that when we come back from our break. We'll be right back. Welcome to That's Life. I'm your host, Leah Leach. And accepting who you are. Accept who you are. Guess what? I accept who I am because I have tattoos and I am who I am.
Right.
With all my art. Ephesians 2:10. For we are God's masterpiece. He has created us anew in Christ Jesus, so we can do the things He had planned for us long ago. Bible verse, as we always do on That's Life. So my quote comes from Mr. Bob Marley. You never know how strong you are until being strong is the only choice that you have. Our Bible verse comes from Romans 5:3-5. Not only so, but we are also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance. Post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, is a type of anxiety disorder that develops after exposure to a traumatic event. An event can be considered is your first time here. If you're unfamiliar with how it goes, on Friday, we do our resource show where we offer resources to all those who need it. So we offer food, rental assistance, job opportunities, anything that will be able to help the community. If you're looking for a realtor in the Atlanta area, Jamel is your girl. She will make the home buying experience amazing for you. All of her information is below on our ticker, so please utilize her if you're looking for a realtor in the Atlanta area. So we always sponsor this week is Zeont Starfighter's book series. Without knowing why they receive strange elemental base fragments or even why they exist, Kenneth Lambert and Richard Troglin will embark on new destinies that will ram them and their opposing ideals head on. Want to know more? Go to zeontstarfighters.com for details and to order your copy of the book. You will not be disappointed. It's an amazing book. Welcome back to That's Life. I'm your host, Leach. Thank you so much for tuning into our segment about self-care is the best care. It is so necessary to have this conversation because, again, a lot of people ask, Leah, why did you take such a long sabbatical? It was necessary for my mental wellness as well as my physical wellness to take this extended time to be able to get myself aligned and realigned. It is so critical that we align ourselves, even if that means just stepping back and taking a break from all the mundane day-to-day things that we do, whether that be work, whether that be school, or whatever that looks like. It's necessary to give yourself a break, okay? Even Jesus, even God took a break. He took a rest on the seventh day. So you're no exception to that. You're a human being. You need rest. It is critical when you're dealing with self-development and growth that you take time off. So now we're going to go to women. And I think that is so critical that we talk about women because a lot of times, ladies, we put ourselves last. Yeah, I said it. We put ourselves last. We put ourselves last behind our spouses and our boyfriends and our husbands and our wives. We put ourselves last when it comes to our children, when it comes to other people who may need or want us. But a lot of times what that looks like is that we're burning ourselves out. As you can see, I put two people on this list that are critical to what we're talking about. And I also meant and intentionally wanted to add a third person, but we're going to just add her in just the context of what we're talking about. So why is it so difficult for self-care, particularly with women, and especially women of color? I'm not just talking about women of color right now, but this is what the article talked about. So we're going to talk about it. On the website Times West Virginian, David Kirk wrote an article called Under Pressure. And on this article, he talked about how Simone Biles' self-care resonates with Black women. In the article, Yolanda Hunter, a 49-year-old mental nurse who owns her own practice, states, "You have the right to disappoint people." I hope you hear this, ladies. You have the right to disappoint people, and you have the right to inconvenience them. It shouldn't be something that people question. In addition, Tiffany Walker Samuels, a 51-year-old owner of Eye Candy Beauty Salon, states, "You typically don't hear us taking a sabbatical," us meaning African American women. Because of that, our culture has often been that you work hours or you work as required and you show up and perform. That's been passed down generation after generation. And as you can see, I have Naomi Osaka as well as Simone Biles, but also this week we heard Sloane Stevens come out, which is another Black tennis player who came out against mental wellness. I'm going to talk about mental wellness and I'm going to talk about it from my own experience. Mental wellness is something that African American women don't talk about. We don't talk about when we're tired. We don't talk about when we're burnt out. We don't talk about when we need help. And a lot of times the reason is because we're either ashamed to talk about it or because, again, generationally, we've had women before us that have carried the weight of the world on their back and they have showed their strength. I come from a long line of strong women, okay? And I can speak for me. I come from a grandmother who raised 10 kids and adopted two and raised them as well too, and a other host of community of children. I come from a mother who not only took care of myself and my brother, but she adopted children along the way. Neighborhood children, kids that just needed mentorship. So when it came down to me, I thought, well, I came from great stock. I came from women who are strong, who have done this before. I should be able to do this. I'm not them. They not me. I had to realize that mental wellness is critical and important if I want to be the best leader that I can be. I can't be the best leader that I can be if I'm exhausted. I can't be the best leader that I can be if I'm irritable. And what that looked like was me taking a step back and just saying, I can't do it anymore. Ironically, also in the midst of that, as we talked about last segment, I was diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer. So what that looked like was me putting a lot of dependency upon people who I didn't put dependency on once before. My wife having to step up and to do additional things that she wouldn't ordinarily do because I was taking care of it. But what that also showed my wife was that I was taking on way too much. My wife was actually able to see the things that I was carrying. And what that looked like was that, oh my God, you were carrying all this and you were going to work full time and you were going to school and you were doing the things that you were doing. How did you manage that? And so one of the things that I'm appreciative of is being home and being able to get self-care is that my wife and I both have come to an agreement on sharing the load and breaking up that load so that I don't feel overwhelmed. That also goes for her too, because guess what? She goes to school full time and she works full time. And she's also a full time parent like me. And she's also a full time spouse like me. So it's us being able to divide the load so no one feels overwhelmed. This summer, we saw Simone Biles have a mental break. And I want people to stop writing her about the fact that she had a mental break. COVID-19 has impacted all of our lives in a traumatic way. It is unusual to go and turn on the games that we were seeing during the summer and not seeing crowds of people in the audience. And one of the things Simone Biles talked about was prior to her going to Tokyo was the fact that she was going to have to do competition without her parents being there. She knew that that was something that felt unusual for her because guess what? It's not normal for us to be walking around with masks on our face because nobody could expect it that that's what our livelihood would be. And so when she did the competition, she knew she didn't feel right. She knew in her gut, in her mind, in her heart, her spirit, that it did not feel right for her. And what that looked like was that she needed to take a step back. Naomi Osaka did the exact same thing. And she was nailed to the cross for the fact that she needed time away from the open because it was all too much mentally on her. And especially with young women, what we're finding far too often is the young women are having a hard time coping with how to deal with mental pressure and what that looks like. I remember growing up and having lots of people around me that could mentor me. I had a big sister or I had somebody around me to help guide me. A lot of times we don't have those things set in place for our young girls. Unfortunately, another thing is that we tear each other down without building each other up. And we've seen that far too often when it comes to reality TV and all the things that we see on social media. We tear our own culture down more than any other group of people. And so, what that typically looks like for Black women is that when we are having a hardship or when we're having a hard time, not only do we not have our men to lean on, but we don't have our sisterhood to lean on, and we don't have, the great grandmother or the grandmother or the person that can help us when we're having our mental break. And so it is so critical. It is super critical that we are supporting each other, especially now during this COVID pandemic, because this COVID pandemic has tore us all down in some capacity. I think it has made us all mental in some capacity. I know, as I told someone recently, it's not normal for our babies to go to school with masks on our face. But guess what? They have to do that to stay protected. But that's what their norm is now, is to get up and put on a mask. We never had to have an argument or discussion about taking a vaccine. When we were growing up, when our babies were born, it wasn't, do you go get your children vaccinated? If they have to go to school, they have to be vaccinated. So a lot of these things that are happening are all playing into our mental and our self-care and our mental wellness. It really plays a part in that. So it's so critical that we are supporting one another when we have mental breaks. It's important to look at the signs of when a person is exhausted, because when a person is exhausted, they usually show you a sign. They usually do. They show you some sign that they're mentally exhausted. So it's important that when we love our family and the women that are in our lives, or just anyone that's in our lives, that we're paying attention to all those signs that are there when a person is having a mental break. It is so crucial, especially now during our COVID pandemic. We've had more suicides during this pandemic probably than any other time frame. And a lot of that is because people are stressed. They are at the point of being stretched. You can only pull a rubber band so much before the rubber band breaks. So it's so critical that we're paying attention to the signs that are necessary. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk some tips and tools and things that you can do for self-care. And some of the tips are very basic. They're very common sense. But again, when you're exhausted, you can't think about the things that you need to do that's best for you. But we're going to talk about some tips and tools on how you can stay mentally sound, how you can stay physically sound, how you can stay emotionally sound and spiritually sound during this time. Because listen, y'all, this pandemic is not going anywhere anytime soon. And so we have to find ways to keep ourselves sound. Okay. We're going to go to our minute. And this is our new little commercial that we have. We're super excited about this segment because this segment is here to teach you about something you didn't know that you didn't know before. So we're going to go to our minute with the mechanic.
Hi, my name is Sean, and I'm your minute with the mechanic. I'm here to show you guys about how to read find the pressure for your car. The pressure at each tire can be different, and you don't know. So you might have a flat or running low. You want to go put air in it, but you don't know how much. So you just pick whatever air you want to put into it, but you could damage your tire either way you do it. So the best way to know exactly what air goes in your tire, the panel right here on your door. It tells you exactly how much air goes in each tire. The front tire is different from the back tires. So you definitely want to make sure you get it right. I don't want you guys paying money for tires that you don't have to. All right, that's it. Minute with Mechanic. I'm out.
I didn't realize that going to take my first mammogram would impact the rest of my life. I had my life planned out, and I felt prepared in all aspects. I thought I had it all figured out until May 10th, 2017. Never in a million years did I know that breast cancer would be the newest and latest chapter of my life. My life, although chaotic, was stable. In a matter of months, my life was turned inside out. This is a story of my life. It breaks down how I discovered cancer, my journey through the pain and obstacles of it, and how I'm currently dealing with the aftermath. I must move forward on this unpaved road called life. I hope that after reading my story, you'll be more inspired, you will be stronger, you will feel freer, and you are able to move forward in your own journey, whatever that may be. God bless you, and know that I'm in your corner. Want to advertise your business or product on our show, That's Life? Go to our website at that'slife.bylealeach.com. We have packaging for those that would like to utilize our ticker every Friday and Saturday for just $15 per show. You can also do video advertisements for $40 for our Saturday show. Take your business to the very next level and utilize us so that we can help you expand your business. Until then, make butterfly moves daily. Again, you can go to our website at that'slife.bylealeach.com for all packaging, pricing, and for further details.
You ever just dream big, dream real big? I mean, I wonder what that would look like. I think the best part about being behind the camera and figuring it all out is getting the pieces, collecting all of the pieces that make the puzzle a complete picture. How do you make it all come together? Situations, scenarios, and different things on the screen. What is it that you want to do? When it's time to actually be creative, collaboration is key. You can count on me to help turn that vision into reality.
Hey, I'm Natasha Nedrick, the empowerment coach and founder of Empowering Imprints. And I have a question for you. When is the last time you went to work and you did something really life-giving? I mean, you showed up on a Monday morning and you were excited to be there. The truth of the matter is, far too often we find ourselves climbing corporate ladders we never intended to be on. Why? Because we've convinced ourselves that the only way we can make money to put food on the table to take care of our family is to work at a job that leaves us dead and feeling unsatisfied. Well, I want to challenge you to change your narrative, to believe that the gifts and the talent and the purpose and the passion that God placed inside of you shouldn't be going to waste. In fact, it should be making you money. As an empowerment coach, I work with faith-based entrepreneurs and professionals to help them discover their purpose, monetize their gifts, and build wealth. You keep saying you're ready to start your business, to write your book, to start your next. You know what God has placed inside of you. You keep putting it on hold. You know what it is. You just need someone to empower you to get it out of you. Go to empoweringimprints.com and let me empower you to do your next.
Hey there, That's Life viewers. Welcome back to our show, Self-Care is the Best Care. And we talked about a little bit about women and self-care. We talked about the definition of what self-care is and how critical and important it is, especially now during our COVID period. So now we're going to talk about some tips. And as you know, I always want to give you tips and tools on how to live a really good life where you don't have to worry about the stresses and the things that maybe you do or don't know when it comes to self-care. So I have actually two sets of tips today. So we're going to talk about both of them because there were things on both of them that I like. You're going to probably see some repetition. Don't be alarmed because both of these are pretty much almost duplicate. So the first website comes from Psychology Today. And obviously some of these are very like almost common sense, but it's critical to talk about them because this is what's going to help you have the best self-care possible. So number one, make sleep part of your self-care routine. People, I can't tell you what the best amount of sleep is, but what I will tell you is that you should make a nightly routine. What that looks like for you is something that works for you. For me, what that looked like is making chamomile tea and taking a bubble bath. That's my nighttime routine. It keeps me calm. I put lavender in my bubble bath and I'm relaxed and I can kind of unwind and get relaxed for the day. Stay away from caffeine. It is so easy for us to go to soda or to go to sugar. Sugar is your worst enemy when you're trying to get sleep, people. It's actually the opposite. It's going to reverse everything that you've tried to do to get yourself to rest. So please, please, please establish a nighttime routine and stay away from caffeine. Caffeine also can include alcohol. Yeah, I said it. I know some of y'all like your little wine and the nightcap. Nothing wrong with that. But you don't do that to nighttime routine because nighttime routine is going to cause you to stay up and be in your thoughts. Okay. Find ways to calm yourself down after a hard day. Again, what we talked about is taking a bubble bath, doing something that's going to relax your nerves, lessen your workload. People, I cannot stress to you how important it is for you to lessen your workload when it comes to your nighttime routine in terms of sleep. Settle that disagreement with your coworker. I know that's easier said than done. Sometimes with our coworkers, they're boneheads, but that can also disrupt your sleep and it can have an impact on how you sleep. And make sure that you're in the best possible place for REM sleep. So anything that's going to distract you, your TV, your laptop, your cell phone, doing the things that's going to cause you to not have issues with sleep. And in my case, we have darkening curtains, and I praise God for darkening curtains because that allows me to be able to get more restful sleep. Number 2, take care of yourself by taking care of your gut. People do not realize how critical food is when it comes to self-care. The types of food that you eat crucially will impact the bacteria that lives in your stomach, resulting in a cascade of either positive or negative outcomes. Healing your gut can lead to an unhappy person and vice versa. I can't tell you what you can eat, people. If you think that eating fried chicken is the best thing that you should do for your self-care, have at it. But what I will tell you is that you can't eat fried chicken every day. Fried chicken every day is not going to help your gut. It's not going to help your stomach. And stomach digestion is critical and important when it comes to self-care. So please take care of your belly. Your belly is going to be your very, very best friend. Number 3, exercise daily as a part of your self-care routine. People think that exercising has to be hardcore exercising. No, it does not. It does not have to be hardcore exercising. It can be things as simple as walking, tennis, yoga. Create a routine that works best for you, but make sure that your daily exercise can help you both physically and mentally. Okay, because that will also boost your mood and it will reduce your stress and anxiety. I can tell you for me, walking was one of the most critical things that I learned in my self-care going through my sabbatical. I walked all the time. I walked so much to the point where my poor wife would say to me, "Are we done walking?" Because I was letting out so much anxiety and stress and sweat equity that I was making my poor spouse exhausted. So make sure that you do something that's going to give you some sweat equity. Okay. Number 4, eat right. The most amazing self-care foods are these foods. Okay. And these are critical if you're trying to have best self-care. Fatty fish, blueberries, nuts, green leafy vegetables, and broccoli. Now, when we say nuts, we're not talking just like cashews and peanuts. We're talking about almonds. We're talking about things that are high enriched in fiber. Those are the things that are good for you. Fatty fish is not catfish. Let me say that again. It's not catfish. It's not whiting. It's things like tuna, things like salmon. Those are high fatty fish contents that are good for you. Green leafy vegetables are spinach, kale. Any dark green is good for your system. And of course, broccoli. Number 5, say no to others. Say yes to yourself. I'm going to let y'all see my face on this one, okay? Because I know I am the biggest proponent. Say no to others. Say no. Say no to others. Say yes to yourself, okay? Politely say no. Please say it politely. And don't feel stressed or overworked or potentially burnt out, anxious, or irritable. Where irritability comes from is the fact that we don't say no. Sometimes it's okay to say no. And guess what? The person that you're saying no to, if they love you and they're understanding, they will understand why you say no. Say no to others. Number 6, take a self-care trip. Man, I wish I could do this right now, but the way that COVID-19 is set up, I cannot right now. But if you choose to take a self-care trip, go right ahead. That doesn't have to mean you getting on an airplane. That can mean as simple as you taking a drive to the next town over, going sightseeing, going camping. The goal is to get away from your everyday norm. Okay, that's the goal. You don't want to do something that's going to financially stress you, because then, of course, that will become something that will take away from your self-care. But you do want to do something that's going to take you away from your norm every day. Number 7, take a self-care break by getting outside. Do something physical. Something physical meaning gardening, hiking, walking. All those things not only reduce fatigue, but it overcomes symptoms of depression. And as you know, that depression and self-care typically go hand in hand, because a lot of people do not know when their self-care limit has burnt out and when they're depressed. So do something that's going to get you to not be in that zone. Number 8, let a pet help. Now, that's kind of, I like that one, but a lot of people don't have pets. Like, I don't own a pet, but I know when I did have a pet, they did help with self-care. Pets can boost your life. Dogs specifically can help stress and lower your blood pressure, obviously, because they're playful and they do things that can kind of reduce the amount of stress that you're under. So if you're all about a pet, or if you want to adopt a pet, there's plenty of shelters out there that will allow you to adopt a pet. There's lots of places where you can go, especially now with COVID-19, that you can go and get a pet if that's what you choose to do. Number 9, take care of yourself by getting organized. I cannot stress this one enough. This is actually one of my favorite tips on this particular list, because being organized will keep your self-care at a place where you'll be able to function. Okay. Keep a planner or a calendar. It doesn't matter which one, but you don't want to put all your stuff in your phone, because if you lose your phone, then you're out of gas. Create an area to keep your purses, your backpacks, your briefcases, coats, and be ready for the next day. It is critical in self-care that you don't overwhelm yourself. The idea is to make sure that you're organized for the next day. If you yourself are not an organized person, you can ask your spouse. If your spouse is not an organized person, there are plenty of social media platforms and places that you can go that will help you to get organized. But don't use it as an excuse. Get organized. Number 10, cook at home. I am a big proponent on meal prep and cooking ahead. That also including your family. I'm going to kind of come off on this one a little bit too, because I have a friend, and I won't say her name, but she knows who she is if she's watching, who has this overwhelming sense to always cook. But she doesn't include her husband. She doesn't include her children. Always, if you have a family, make it a family affair. Have one person do one thing, have another person do something else, have another person do something else. It will keep the load off of you, especially if you're a person has multiple things that you have to do throughout the day. So make sure that you include your family. Even consider, if you don't know how to cook, or if you're not a great cook, and consider a delivery service or meal kits. There are lots of meal kits that you can use now. Even at the grocery stores, you can go there and they'll have meal kits ready for you to go. But do stuff that's going to help you to stay at home and eat at home. So where we go wrong with self-care is that we want to eat out all the time. And yes, eating out is convenient, but eating out also does not help you with your gut, which is part of this list. And it also doesn't help with all the things that you got going on. So please, please, please make sure that you plan at home and organize so that you can cook at home. Number 11, read a book. And I know we have now become a very digitized generation. It drives me to drink, but reading a book, it will slow you down from looking at your phone. It will improve your mood. It would help you stay more present and mindful. I'm going to come off of this for just a second. Hey, get this book right here, Xeon Starfighters. When you know it, I put a plug in there for my friend. I hope he's watching. But read a book. Reading a book is actually good for your mental space. It's good for everything that you got going on. Number 12, which is the final one, schedule your self-care time and guard that time with everything you have. You have to take regular self-care breaks. Let me repeat that. You have to take regular self-care breaks. Regular meaning at least once a week. Because if you're working full time, your job drives you crazy. If you're a mom, your kids are driving you crazy. If you're a spouse, your spouse is probably driving you crazy. So you need to take a little bit of time for just you. What that looks like: take a long walk, take a hot bath, watch a movie by yourself, watch a movie with friends. Look for things that you can do to incorporate in your life that are not going to break you, nor will it cause too much disruption in your life. The idea is for you to have self-care time so that you can reset and realign with yourself. For me, what that looked like was just taking quiet time away from the phone, away from the computer, away from social media, and just having that moment to reset, because that's what you have to do. Okay. So those are the 12 tips in order to improve. Now we're going to go to the other list, which is very comparable to the one that we just read. And as you can see, all these words are contributing words to add to our self-care or to take away from our self-care, especially the one that I see that is blaringly in my face: stress. We all feel a form of stress. Okay. So this comes from the awarenesscenter.com. And these are 5 tips to help you in your self-care journey. Number 1, give yourself permission to relax. Y'all, I can't tell you how many times my wife used to tell me, could you go sit down? Could you go relax? Could you go chill? Can you take off your shoes before you start doing anything? Give yourself permission to relax. This is the best quote that I can give you that goes with this particular statement. Make it an investment, not a waste of time. Let me repeat that. Make it an investment, not a waste of time. If you can invest your money into stocks, that's what you have to do when it comes to your relaxation. If you can invest your time into going to see your kid at the soccer game, you can give your same amount of time to relaxation. If you can give yourself 30 minutes for your spouse so that you could be with them, you can give yourself 30 minutes to relax. Give yourself permission to relax. The ones that love you the most will thank you because they will appreciate that. Okay. Number 2, stop putting yourself down. Now, I think with this one, when I first initially read it, I said, stop putting yourself down. What does that mean? Stop putting yourself means that, are you being cruel to yourself? Do you sneer at yourself, or do you tell yourself that you can be more dynamic? Change your words to be more supportive and soothing to yourself. A lot of times we harm ourselves more than the people that are around us when it comes to our self-care. Sometimes you have to say to yourself, it's okay to rest. Or it's, you know what? You did do a lot today. Give yourself that pat on the back and go and do something that's going to be self-care worthy. Okay. Don't put yourself down just because your grandma, your auntie, your uncles, everybody before everybody did it and you're tired. You are who you are. They are who they are. Okay. So make sure that you're giving yourself the necessary rest. Number 3, worry less what other people think. Don't compare yourself, as we just talked about. You're not your auntie. You're not your uncle. You're not anybody else. You are who you are. Don't tie yourself up in knots trying to achieve something that you believe others want for you. Hello. Can the church say amen? You are not here to live up to the expectations of others. You're here to live up to the expectation of what you can handle. Okay. What you can handle, because you are who you are. Number 4, lower the expectations. Think realistic rather than perfect. And far too often what we do is we put ourselves on the perfection wheel. Oh, we got to be perfect at everything. We got to be a perfect cook. We got to be a perfect love maker. We got to be a perfect mama. We got to be a perfect everybody. You're not perfect. There's only been one perfect being that's ever lived, and his name was Jesus Christ. You are not perfect. Be the best that you can be, but don't overexert yourself. Number 5, and the final one, express yourself. Find a way to express yourself. I do my expression through That's Life. I do my expression through writing, and I also do my expression through poetry. But whether that's speaking, writing, drawing, acting, dancing, singing, painting, find something that's going to build your resiliency, strong relationships with you and others. Okay. It is important that you're doing something that finds a way for you to express yourself to the best of your ability. Okay. I hope that you learned a little bit about self-care. I hope that you got some tips and tools and things that you can do to live a better, fruitful life, especially now during this COVID pandemic. Y'all, people are dying of mental illness, and it's just real. I think that we have to get really real with ourselves and see, are we aligned? Are we doing the things that are good for our mental, physical, spiritual health? If the answer to that is no, or you don't have an answer, you're probably not. Okay. So find something that's going to give you the mental wellness that you need so that you can live and live your best life. Okay. All right. So now we're going to end, as you know, we always end with a quote in our Bible verse. So we're going to end with this quote from Lucille Ball. Love yourself first. Everything else falls in line. You really have to love yourself to get anything done in this world. Okay, so love yourself first, because you can't give love to nobody else if you don't love yourself first. Our Bible verse comes from Jeremiah 30:17. For I will restore health to you, and I will heal you of the wounds, says the Lord. Thank you so much for tuning into our show today about self-care is the best care. Tune in next Saturday as we talk about generational curses with my very special guest, Dr. Chandra Davis and Pastor Bruce. We are so excited about this particular segment because we need to shine light on a very controversial topic that most of us don't want to talk about. So tune in next Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as we talk about generational curses. Until then, make butterfly moves daily. Bye, guys.